Before I started reading The Lord of the Rings, I had a few people talk to me about how different the book and the movies really are. Not necessarily just in how there's minor differences between them, but particularly in the structure of the books. Now, these people were much bigger fans of the movie than they were of the book, and they kind of sped read through the books after the movies came out, just so they can kind of say that they read them. And one of their comments, I still remember, was that the movies were structured better because you have the stories and they're all intermeshed and they're kind of working in conjunction with each other, rather than the huge chunks and the huge blocks of Frodo and Sam's story, and then back to Aragorn's story, and then back to Merry and Pippin's story, because the book is kind of just divided into 6 books. So there's one book, The Lord of the Rings, divided into 3 books, which is really divided into 6 books. Confusing. But the first is Frodo on his way to Rivendell. The second is a fellowship going from Rivendell to Amon Hen. The third is actually back to Aragorn and company just minutes before Frodo leaves, and it carries their story all the way past Helm's Deep and into the Palantir Look by Pippin. That book ends with Pippin and Gandalf riding with haste to Minas Tirith. The fourth book then goes all the way back to the breaking of the Fellowship's, when Boromir is really kind of dead, and it picks up the storyline with Frodo and Sam and goes all the way into Shelob's cave and Sam's defeat of that spider demon. And book 5 is essentially going back to Aragorn's whole storyline, and you hit Pippin riding with Gandalf, and then it ends at the Black Gate. And at the end of book 4, there's a massive cliffhanger that is happening because Frodo and Sam are separated by the orcs. Because the orcs take Frodo and Sam cannot get to him because they kind of shut the door in. Now, as I read, I find myself kind of wanting each of these characters' stories more than others. When I'm with Aragorn, I find myself really missing Frodo and Sam. And when I'm with Frodo and Sam, I kind of want more Pippin and Merry. It's a weird cycle. But I vehemently disagree with the proposition that the movies are better in the structure of the story. Because there is a moment at the end of book 5 that is the entire payoff for why JRR Tolkien structured this book the way that he did. And I cannot sing of the brilliance of JRR Tolkien enough. If you've subscribed to the channel, you know that I talk about the brilliance of JRR Tolkien a lot, but this is honestly just next level. It is a mystery novel that you kind of have to piece together for yourself at this point. Because of all, it's just one small little thing that the mouth of Sauron says that we don't know yet. Because let's just imagine the movies playing out like the books are written. So we'd have Frodo and Sam getting separated by orcs. Book 4 ends with this paragraph. The great doors slammed to. Boom. The bars of iron fell into place. Clang. The gate was shut. Sam hurled himself against the bolted brazen plates and fell senseless to the ground. He was out in the darkness. Frodo was alive, but taken by the enemy. So in this section, they're separated. Then imagine the movies, after they get separated, it takes us on a 2-hour detour and we don't get that story anymore. We get the bulk of Aragorn and company's story. And their story hits its climax when they all march back out to the Black Gate after they win the Battle of Minas Tirith and they treat with the Mouth of Sauron. When the Mouth of Sauron pulls out the mithril chainmail, imagine the feeling that you have for what is going on in this story. Now, after you read that section, and then after the shock kind of wears off, you start to question how it is that they have this. Is this a bluff? It can't be, because they actually not only have the chainmail of Frodo, but they also have the elven cloaks. And they have Sam's sword from the Barrow Downs. And you start to panic because you don't know what happened to Frodo and Sam. Imagine reading this for the first time without knowledge of the movies. You either think Frodo is dead and Sam is carrying the ring by himself. You think maybe Sam died and Frodo had to say goodbye to him. You think maybe they are both captive somewhere and potentially hiding the ring. Where even is the ring? Did Gollum repent truly, and is he carrying the ring to destroy it? What is going on in this story? And in the midst of all of this, JRR Tolkien, like a master mystery novelist, gives us one of the most loaded paragraphs in literary history. Because here's the deal. When Sam thinks that Frodo is dead, we know that he takes the ring. And that's in the book. but it's not really like a surprise like it is in the movies. But Sam doesn't take the mithril coat, but he does take Sting. But Sam also leaves his own sword, the barrow blade, and he takes Sting, but he doesn't lay his cloak aside or anything. And so the Mouth of Sauron comes with the terms, and he comes with 3 items that are really confusing. This is what the book says: dwarf coat, elven cloak, blade of the downfallen west, and spy from the little rat land of the Shire. Nay, do not start. We know it well. Here are the marks of a conspiracy. Now, maybe he that bore these things was a creature that you would not grieve to lose. And maybe otherwise. One dear to you, perhaps. If so, take swift counsel with what little wit is left to you. For Sauron does not love spies. And what his fate shall be depends now on your choice. Now, pause the video on this paragraph if you just want to kind of figure out the mystery of this paragraph. There are 3 key things that are key indications for trying to figure out this story. So if you're writing a mystery novel, or if you're a mystery writer, just take notes from this paragraph. The first one is one that I kind of made obvious, that they do not have Sting. Arguably a much cooler and more important sword than the barrow blade. And they just kind of don't have Sting. They have the barrow blade, and the barrow blade was left by Frodo's body after Sam thought Frodo was dead. So the question is, how do they have the barrow blade, and why do they not have Sting? It was last in Sam's possession because Sam took Sting from Frodo when Sam thought Frodo was dead. So if they killed Sam, they didn't take Sting. Maybe he hid it somewhere, but that cannot be, because the second greatest point to this in this paragraph is one by negation, because Sam has the ring in his possession. And so they keep referring to this hobbit as a spy, not as a ring bearer. Sam Gamgee took the ring from Frodo in the end of book 4. So here you are thinking if they took Sam, they must have the ring. But it also doesn't seem like they have the ring, because if they did, then the conversation would surely go a lot different. I don't think Sauron himself would come out marching, but I do kind of think the Mouth of Sauron would come out talking a fully different game of trash talk, saying that they are in possession of the ring, and proving it by showing them these 3 items. The very fact that there is no mention of the ring in this entire paragraph, this entire chapter, is just ominous and strange. It makes it really feel like they don't have it. But if they don't have it, then maybe Gollum has it. And maybe because they have Sam's barrow blade and the mithril coat of Frodo, maybe they captured both Sam and Frodo. But that cannot be as well, because in this section, they continually use the singular. The spy. Singular. And he's not a spy. He's a ring bearer. To them, he's not a ring bearer. This guy's just a simple spy. And the singular perspective here makes you think that they only have one hobbit. It's used over and over and over again, this whole conversation with the Mouth of Sauron. And no one is really catching everything that's going on, except for probably Gandalf. But it's not really explained to the reader for what Gandalf is likely processing through. Because the next paragraph, well, the one that comes right before it, Sauron kind of is laying out what his terms are, or like proposing that they actually lay out the terms. And the next paragraph says this: "Name the terms," said Gandalf steadily. But those nearby saw the anguish in his face. And now he seemed an old and wizened man, crushed, defeated at last. They did not doubt that he would accept. This to me means that Pippin, as he's relaying the story to Frodo, is showing that he thought that Gandalf's anguish was pain at knowing that Frodo was dead, or potentially going to die. But I think the anguish in his face is the confusion over the parts of the story that just don't add up here. Why is the Mouth of Sauron talking as if he captured one hobbit, when these are both objects of Frodo and Sam, and they're in separate locations at this point in the end of book 4? And why is he not mentioning the ring at all? And why is he saying that they're only spies? These are indications that just don't add up. And to be completely honest, I don't know what is going to happen in the book from this point on, because I haven't read anything yet. I'm actually going to do a live read in the first chapter of book 6 this Sunday. So just come join for that, because I am so excited to read that. But holy smokes, is this the most loaded paragraph that I have ever read in my entire life. I just understand, I do understand why people complain about the books. and the way that Tolkien split this up. Because previously, before this chapter, I kept thinking to myself, I almost wish that he just kind of intermeshed the chapters a little bit more so that you can kind of have moments with every character a little bit more consistently and not really have to miss these characters. But now I am fully converted and convinced that this was perhaps the most brilliant move for JRR Tolkien to do. And so here I am, standing on the edge of book 5 and the beginning of book 6. And I finally get why Tolkien did this. Because I am on a suspension bridge right now between these two books. Because this cliffhanger for what actually is going on is just looming over my head. And it's not even the best cliffhanger at the end of book 5, too. There's another one that comes at the end, the very, very end of book 5, that to me is even greater than this one. But more on that in tomorrow's video. I just kind of feel the terror of not knowing what is going on in this section. And I think it is Tolkien's best and most brilliant moment. For all the people who complained about how the books were just structured, they just did not get to experience this moment right here. And they just don't know. I just don't know. But one thing I do know is that this moment, this cliffhanger, it only works because Tolkien had the courage to tell the story the way that he did. When I don't think a lot of his stories, or a lot of stories at the time, were really told like that. And it is, without exaggeration, one of the most brilliant storytelling decisions that I have ever encountered. I cannot wait to get to book 6. But that's all I got for you today. Join for the live stream on Sunday at 1 p.m. Eastern time when we read. Make sure you like the video. You can subscribe to for more of this kind of content. You can also become a member for some members only access and early access to videos. And as always, remember to look toward Numenor that was, and beyond to Elvenhome that is, and to that which is beyond Elvenhome and will ever be. I'll see you in the next one.